Welcome back to Just Jossin, everyone. This week we are in the Hellmouth, and I'm one half of your host, Sabrina Hannon.
And I'm Jasmine Heron, the other half. Today we are discussing The Harsh Light of Day, which is technically the beginning of a crossover with the Angel series that we're discussing next week.
Oh, yes. I remember when this originally aired, the two of them together, because it also involves so much Spike, and more importantly, Spike and Angel banter. Oh, love it. Mwah. Chef's kiss. So I have a couple of fun facts about this episode.
Okay.
It is the last appearance in the series of Devin, the guy from the Dingoes. So the victim on the wall in their little cave is actually, this is the name of the character, Asian Joe. He's been a reoccurring extra that was in Sunnydale High. And he also might be actually in the initiative. Like there's some theories that he's actually part of the initiative. But he's been around in other seasons as an extra. Apparently they're only Asian extra, if you believe that name.
Well, you've watched Crazy Ex-Girlfriend?
Yes.
Where they have white Josh
yeah.
instead of Asian Josh?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Which I appreciate.
White Josh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's just such a good show. So much good music comes out of it. And my last fun fact is that Willow becomes the third Scooby to be bitten by a vampire in this reality, because if you add in the other reality.
Okay. So the third Scooby, so we've got Buffy who's been bitten. Xander got bitten?
I believe so. I figured this out before. Was it? Because it wasn't Cordelia, right? No, it was Xander. Remember, because Angel took a little nibble at one time? Or no, yeah.
Or Spike. No, I thought they did it.
No, they didn't. I don't know. Was it Giles?
I don't know.
It was not Oz. We know it was definitely Buffy.
Uh-huh.
And Xander wasn't bitten the night, like in the first episode, right? The first two?
I don't think so.
Hello, Internet.
Yep.
I hear my cat Jasper's walking around outside the room going, wow, wow, looking for me.
Yeah, I had to lock the puppies away, otherwise they'd be barking.
Which Scoobies get bitten by vamps? Oh, the internet's probably is going to be like, what do you mean Scoobies? Yep. Okay. Yep. That brought up everything Scooby-Doo. Oh, wait, Jenny Calendar would count as a Scooby, right?
I guess, yeah.
We're just going to say that so we can move on.
I mean, Buffy has been bitten twice.
Yes.
Like, she's been bitten by the Master, and she's been bitten by Angel.
Mm-hmm. So shall we talk about the opening of the episode, or do you have some factoids?
I think we start off with talking about the Dingoes Ate My Baby playing at the Bronze. I want to talk about the fact that, Buffy is watching Parker playing pool through a mirror, and they comment on the fact that he has a reflection, and that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. And Willow says Buffy is having lusty wrong feelings. And Buffy says, no, I'm not. And Willow has this internal, she's like, no, you're not. And, Buffy thinks that they're still having like banter, and she's like, oh, I totally am. And Willow says, no, you're not. You're an adult. You're not in a relationship. You are allowed to have and act upon lusty feelings.
She specifically says that they're not wrong.
Yep.
And yeah, it's a big moment because I mean, for the most part, shows at this time weren't talking about that with women. I mean, you could argue that Sex in the City was, but that's a whole other kettle of fish, and it's.
I have issues with Sex in the City, but this is not to the.
Yeah, same as I just did the.
I wrote an entire thesis about my issues with Sex in the City.
Your thesis about Sex in the City is what made me watch Sex in the City so I could understand what the problems were.
And then once you see the problems, you see the problems. But...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I feel like more problems have come up over time with that, but it has not aged well. It wasn't made well, but.
Back to the whedonverse.
Yes.
Buffy is not having lusty wrong feelings. She is attracted to a guy. She's considering hooking up with them, or and she's interested possibly in a relationship. Like, this guy's interested in her and he seems nice. And so then Parker comes over to let her know that he's going home and they're not in a safe place, which is funny because Buffy has been hanging out at the Bronze since she was 15.
Yep. But I mean, Cordelia does say when she first meets Buffy that like the Bronze is kind of on the bad side of town, which is like a block over from the good side of town.
Yep, because there's not a lot of town.
Yeah. So, and also the fact that Buffy would be the one protecting Parker. Like, he just doesn't know it yet. So she goes with him because she was like, ooh, an opportunity to spend time with the boy I like. Joy.
Yes. And there's a little look between Oz and Willow at that point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Because I think, like, also, I mean, obviously Willow is rooting for Buffy to, be happy, be in a relationship that makes her happy and is safe. And that's very obvious. But I mean, Oz also like is Buffy's friend. Oz also cares, and more so than just a way that he wants his girlfriend to be happy, that her friend's happy.
Yeah.
Like, Oz just has his Oz face.
Mm-hmm.
So the Dingoes and Willow start loading up their equipment into their van and bantering back and forth when Willow's still out by herself in a coat that was quite popular around the time. Like that, I looked at the coat Willow was wearing. I'm like, I don't know if it was that exact year or the next season. That coat was like something everyone was wearing. Enough so that I was like, coat. I had that coat.
I think I had that coat too.
Yeah. It was all over, what was it, Delia's magazine or whatever it was, like the catalog. Was that what it was called, Delia's?
I have no idea.
Oh.
No idea what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure I just went to the mall and was like, that's that coat.
It was there too, yes. But Harmony approaches Willow, and we have not seen Harmony since graduation, and we saw her get snacked upon.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, I guess she survived.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking back and forth, and I just love like, because they acknowledge they haven't seen each other since graduation. I just love that Harmony says, "Yeah, big snake, huh?"
Mm-hmm. Like that's just Sunnydale. Like, okay, there was a big snake at the graduation.
Killed a bunch of people. Well,
yeah.
Actually, the snake didn't. The snake didn't. Technically, I think only killed Snyder. Right?
No, it was.
Oh, and Larry.
And Larry, it did kill Larry. I mean, it was snacking on people up close.
Yeah.
But did not get to snack on nearly as many people as it wanted to.
Yeah. Which I imagine was probably all of the people.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But, so they're talking about like what's new, and Harmony's like, or Willow says like, oh yeah, Harmony, you haven't changed a bit. And she's like, well, that's not true, and damps.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I mean, but first she kind of snidely like puts down Willow. She's like, "You haven't changed at all," because Willow mentioned a museum in
Oh, yeah.
France. Like, how the great museum, you know. And then, oh my goodness, so we've got Oz coming to Willow's rescue with the cross, and obviously I understand why Willow Rosenberg is not wearing a cross, but I feel like maybe she should have like some kind of cross to be able to whip out at a moment's notice
Yeah.
in case of vampire. But
Or like exploding holy water, something.
Yep. And then Harmony says, I have a boyfriend too, and he's going to be mad when he finds out you were mean to me.
Yep. And I love how it's said a little bit later, but how Willow's like, yeah, I don't know if this guy's true, because she was always saying stuff like that about how she had a boyfriend that went to another school or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, yeah. But she's not lying. She does indeed have a boyfriend.
But first, we're flashing back to Buffy walking with Parker.
Oh, yes.
Parker sees the scar on her neck, and she tells him it was an angry puppy that bit her. He then says that his scars are internal and talks about his father dying the year before. And then says that it made him want to live for the moment. And Buffy says, I understand that. She can't exactly say that she's a slayer, but she does say, I understand that. I had a drowning experience. It made me not want to put things off. And he says, people don't really get it. They just say it as an excuse to party and not study for finals. But he's using it as an excuse to get girls to sleep with him.
But we don't know that yet.
But Parker is scum.
Yeah. He very much so is. And like we see it later, like his whole thing, his whole thing is about consent, really. I mean, he says it repeatedly. I will say that is very unusual, I feel like, to see in a, like, even if it's someone who's tricking someone into sleeping with them, like, it was an interesting writing choice. It's a very interesting writing choice. Not a bad one. I'm just saying it's interesting.
No, I mean, and I do appreciate that he did not sexually assault her. Like, this was not a sexual assault. This was...
But also, that shouldn't be like the bar.
No, that should not be the bar.
I appreciate that he did not sexually assault her. However, he's still a scumbag. Lying and manipulation, not so great.
But anyways, he says that he wants to invite her to a party the next night. And she says, yes, she's interested. They go back to her room. They're standing at her door. And you can kind of tell there's the, like, will they, won't they? Are they going to have a kiss? Are they going to have more? And then Oz and Willow show up.
Willow holding her neck.
And they comment upon, seeing Harmony, who's paler, and Willow has a hurt neck, and Buffy's like, the angry puppy!
Mm-hmm.
Which Oz just picks up upon. Yep, it was the angry puppy.
Yep. Very angry puppy. Let's go trap it. So of course, like, they head to Giles's, and I love this whole scene. Like, Giles, now that like the Scoobies are adulty,
Mm-hmm.
the dynamic that they have with Giles is so great, because they're just so, and a lot of people go through this with the adults in their lives, right? When they find out that like your parents or the authority figures in your life are actually people and have things like televisions, for example, that they watch that aren't just, you know, there for prosperity, aren't there like in a museum for people to look at, just to be like, here is this bit of American folk culture that I have.
Well, I love because, you know, we've got this moment, and we have actually sort of skipped over it, where Xander is with Giles before the whole Parker door scene, and he's helping him sort books for some extra cash, and he says he doesn't understand Giles's system, and the system,
crazy system, crazy system.
And the system is putting it in alphabetical order. Which he's like, oh, that makes sense. And then Anya shows up
and tries to get Giles to leave his own apartment.
Yep.
Like, she's like, leave. And Giles is like, I'm not going anywhere, former demon. Like, you leave. Which they wind up having to walk out into that beautiful garden area, but it's nighttime. And then Anya turns to Xander and is just like, where's our relationship going? And Xander's like, but what relationship? Like, he is so caught off guard. And I think he's never had to have someone, like, no one's had this conversation really with him before, especially someone he didn't know wanted to be in a relationship with him.
Yep.
Like, this is the one time in Xander's life where he's not like, I've been waiting for this moment, yes. Anya's the one seeking out the relationship, physical relationship with him. So I really enjoy, and we get to see far more of this throughout the series, but the banter again between Anya and Xander, because they're both flawed. They're both very flawed people, but they're flawed in different ways. And so they're both often confused about what's going on, but they're confused about different things.
Yeah.
And it's just great. They're almost never on the same page, especially in the beginning. It's beautiful.
Yeah. We discussed some of this when we reached the musical episode in season 6.
Oh yeah.
But so then we go back and Willow is filling in Buffy about, so first she says relationship. He says these things have to develop naturally. She goes, well, how? And he goes, I don't know. They just do.
Yeah.
Which is actually not really true. I mean, sometimes it is, but sometimes relationships develop because you put the work into them.
Yeah. I mean, Xander doesn't really have great examples of this. His parents are a hot mess. The other relationships he's been around are Buffy and Angel.
Yep.
One of them turned evil and tried to kill them all. And then Willow and Oz. And Willow and Oz kind of was more of a and obviously his own relationship with Cordelia, which was, it developed over time. And they were very much so fighty. So he doesn't have a lot or anything really to pull from.
Yep.
So it makes sense that he's like, I don't know what to do here. Like, this should just happen to me, right?
So Buffy is, laughing, and she's like, Harmony's boyfriend has to be like the most patient guy. And then we turn around and it's Spike.
Her blondie bear, yeah. The most tolerant man in the world.
Although, I mean, to be fair, his last girlfriend was Drusilla. So
he's very good with mental illness.
And with high maintenance girlfriends.
Yeah. Her clearly cheating on him with Angel right in front of his face as he's bound to a wheelchair.
Yep. But
tolerance, not the word I would use there. emotionally abused is, but
And their relationship is not healthy.
Harmony and Spike.
Harmony and Spike.
No, he's taking out all of the abuse that he experienced with Drusilla, ramping it up. Like, he's not even pretending to really like Harmony. Like, it.
No. But she antagonizes him to rile him up, to make him, it's almost as if it's not as if she wants to be abused. She finds it funny to goad him. But any attention is better than no attention.
Exactly. It's because Harmony, from what we've learned in this episode, really hasn't had a relationship prior. And I mean, she was turned into a vampire when she's 18 years old. Mm-hmm. And she still very much so has a childish mindset of, any attention is good attention, whether it's bad or not. And I think the only way she can get Spike's attention, other than in a sexual way, is by pissing him off. And even by pissing him off, she then turns it half the time, maybe,
into sex.
They are not relationship goals. If this is your relationship, there are places you can go for help. Like, it's not good. It's not good at all.
Sometimes in a long-term relationship, you want to annoy your partner into having sex with you.
Yeah, but you don't want them hurting you.
You're like, entertain me. Entertain me.
And because also, like, Spike also is very open about the fact that he is not over Drusilla. Like, he loves Drusilla still. He just has Harmony. Like, that's the only thing I can say. Like, Spike is he's not hiding this fact at all. But also, that doesn't make it any less bad.
Yep. And so Harmony wants to go to a party. And she keeps, again, goading Spike, calling him her blondie bear, and says that she wants him to hurt Willow and say it's for hurting his sweet girl. And, just...
And Spike's not having any of it because, one, he does not give a shit. And two, he's, like, trying to be in Sunnydale on the down low. Like, he's not happy, most likely, that Harmony, went and showed herself to
Scoobies.
The Scoobies, yeah, because Buffy's going to know. And he's, on a mission tunneling under Sunnydale looking for what we find out later is the Ring of Amara. Mm-hmm. And that's all he cares about. He has this crew and everything else. But so he tells her all this, like, I'm not doing that. Like, you need to lay low. And then as Spike later is threatening a minion because they're not finding what they need to find, that is when Harmony comes over and does the my sweet girl thing. And he tells her to go eat something. And that's when we see Asian Joe tied to the wall. And she remarks that this one tastes funny, which is where a lot of the internet rumors, although I don't know if it would be internet rumors back then, but where a lot of the theories come from that Asian Joe is part of the initiative because of the crap that we know that they wind up taking. We find that out much later.
Well, maybe Asian Joe used to be on the swim team.
That's a possibility too, yeah. He just wasn't very good.
Yep. He just didn't spend a lot of time in the steam room.
Yeah. So the party that they're going to, being Parker and Buffy, is a frat party. And it's like, this place is huge.
And they've got Biff naked as a singer there? Like, yeah. How does a frat book someone that big?
Right. I mean, even so, my university did not have frats, but the parties I went to, there were no live bands playing.
No.
Even like when I went to visit you at Cornell, there was no live band. One of the main reasons being you generally don't want the police showing up because of a noise complaint.
Yep.
Especially since this has freshmen everywhere. But Buffy and Parker run into Spike and Harmony and a victim. And, you know, Parker's like, I think your friends had a little bit too much. And Spike's just like, damn it, Slayer. Like, you can just see he's just like, I'm screwed.
Yeah, but I do love that first they've got banter with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Buffy is like, you're Harmony's boyfriend? And she's actually a little bit mirthful, like really Spike. Like, and there is, but you do notice there's some tension between them. And Parker's like later asks, was there something going on between Spike and Buffy? Because he can sense the tension that everybody feels.
And he asks specifically, like, is that an ex-boyfriend? And Buffy laughs in his face. Like, no. But so Spike and Harmony, mostly Spike, to get away from Buffy, just throws the victim guy at them, and Buffy has to chase Spike. And when they get outside, the banter they have there, and then Harmony comes up and is just like, because Buffy's making fun of him about Drusilla, like, what'd she leave you again? And Harmony fills in the blanks about the whole thing. Like, she just keeps talking, like, oh, she left him for a fungus demon. That's all he talks about.
Last time it was a chaos demon. This time it's a fungus demon. What's a fungus demon look like? Because we see what a chaos demon looks like.
Probably covered in fungi, I would imagine. But then as like Spike, so Harmony gives away information not only about his personal life that he doesn't want, but about why he's in Sunnydale, which is when she says, as soon as we have the gem of Amar, and Spike just goes like, oh, and grabs her and runs. Like, do not trust Harmony with any secrets. She will blab them immediately. Harmony's
constantly trying to front. Like, she's always trying to be big and be cool and
well, use your stories to get there. But then we cut from that to Xander. I think he's putting in a light bulb, right? Or no, he's hanging up a disco ball in the basement.
He's hanging a disco ball in the basement, and Anya walks in, and he offers her a cran apple, like, juice box. And as he walks to get the juice box, she takes off her dress, he turns around, and he just squeezes the juice box in shock and just kind of like spurts, which is a very,
spot on.
Not a double entendre even. It's just a single entendre.
Yeah, it's just there.
It's just there.
And like, so he does that. That is an iconic scene. Like, I think, because that winds up in the opening credits, right? At some point, or have I just seen this so much? Like, I think when people talk about Xander's character and they show like a montage, that where he's squeezing it is almost always part of it.
There goes.
Yeah, because like, also it's important to note that Anya came prepared. She is not wearing anything under that dress. She just rips it up and she's like,
here I am.
Amando am I.
I love that she breaks it down for him very straightforward, that she wants to have sex with them so that they can be worked out of her system and they can both move on, having achieved mutual pleasure. And Xander's like trying to refuse, and she just counters every one of his arguments with, I like you, you like me. We have these bodies. I would prefer face-to-face instead of...
They have these interlocking bodies. It would be a shame for them not to interlock.
Yep. And Xander says, although bad Xander for mentioning a previous sexual partner while about to hook up with a new girl, but he does say still more romantic than Faith.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's for Anya. She might take it as a compliment. I think that's kind of what Xander was going for, but he's not good at it. But Anya is probably the only person walking on Earth that would take it as a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why they are perfect for each other.
But I mean, I really appreciate Anya's directness here, where she's like, I want to have sex with you. At this point, she's saying, I just want it. I just want it because I want it. Like, just once and we're done. And later, she does try to say, I've changed my mind. I want more. But like at the moment, she is communicating incredibly well.
I think Anya doesn't have any other tools in her toolbox other than to communicate directly. Mm-hmm. She hasn't needed to. So as a demon, she like had other things in her toolbox that she could rely on, like to go with lies and stuff like that. But none of that's useful to her now. So she is just like, I am direct. I have these urges. Fix it, and we can fix it by interlocking. I know this. I've watched you humans for a long time. So in a lot of ways, I think the world would be better if there were more, if we all had a little more Anya in us.
Mm-hmm.
Not the vengeance kind of Anya, but the blunt, this is how it goes Anya.
Straight to the point, Anya. And so we've got Harmony and Spike in bed, Harmony's in bed and Spike is reading. Mm-hmm. And Harmony again is trying to annoy Spike. And she's like, is Antonio Banderas a vampire? No. Can I make him a vampire? And he's like, no. And then he's like, never mind. Yes, just leave, go away, leave me alone. And then she keeps annoying him until he looks up from his book and she sees that she's made him angry and she laughs. Mm-hmm. And again, it's the like, look at my body. She's like, I've got these veins all over my body and like, look at my body and do something about it. He suggests chains. She says no, which, hey, that's fine. Like if you're not into that, she starts insulting the woman that he is still in love with.
Calling her Dorcas.
Yep, in order to make him angry so that they can have angry sex.
Mm-hmm. And before all of that even happens, Buffy does take, like, just for chronological order, it doesn't actually affect this scene at all. Yeah. Buffy takes and calls Giles from a payphone, ladies and gentlemen, to like let him know what's happened. That's Spike and the Gem of Mara, and get on that. And then she's like, "Yep, going to bed." Yawn. And heads back into the party to find Parker. Giles also says that the he equates the Gem of Amara to the vampire Holy Grail. I would actually say probably more the Fountain of Youth for humans, just because is the Holy Grail supposed to give the person powers who finds it?
Immortality, I believe.
Oh, is it? Okay.
At least the
Monty Python version?
No, I was going to say the Indiana Jones version.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And Giles gives us a quick history saying like 10th century vamps tried to find it. A lot actually. But it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Never did, blah, blah, blah. So, but he keeps researching because it's Giles. Buffy goes back into the party, finds Parker. They have the conversation about Spike, and then they do the dance.
Mm-hmm.
with the again, the live band that no frat party would ever be able to afford because they were a big deal at that point.
And so we've got Biff naked singing, and at this point she's singing Lucky.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of interesting because apparently she just kept singing it because there's, she comes in, she talks to Parker, she keeps singing, they sit down, they have a conversation, then they go and they have sex, all to the same song.
Yeah, and this is where Parker does the whole like consent thing, but he very much so makes Buffy think, and this is all part of his manipulation, right? He's trying to make her think that she's the one, that she's empowered, that she's the one making these decisions. Like
Uh-huh.
he's this is also like I made this note, like this is all so much work on his part to have sex with someone.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I don't think you need to do this in college. Like you can find people to have sex with very easily.
That was the part that makes him so scummy.
Yeah.
Is that he is constantly after the chase of the girl.
Mm-hmm.
And then once he has set by making them think that he wants a relationship.
Yep.
It's not like, hey, I'm just looking for a random hookup. He makes them think they want a relationship. They have sex. Then he ditches them.
Yeah.
It's almost like he is working out some kind of like heartache with another woman.
Yeah.
Every other woman he meets.
Yeah. Or like some weird some weird problems with like his parents or something like that. Like it's not a healthy thing. Like he needs to get help. But and so if Parker had come at this differently and said like I'm not looking for a relationship, I'm fine with casually dating, I'm fine with hooking up. If that conversation was had, because this also happens, people will say stuff like that and then the other person, what they'll hear in their head or think is like, oh, they just think this, but once they get to know me, they'll want to be with me.
Yep.
At that point, it's not on the person who was honest, it's on the person who just was hearing what they wanted to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what happens here. Buffy is being manipulated, and she has this experience that, and it's not just men don't just do this to women, and people don't just do this to people of different genders of them. Like, be on the lookout for this, no matter who you are. Especially, like, I feel like in your 20s and teens, it happens. Not so much in your 30s and 40s. Not saying that it won't, but it's not as likely because again, it involves a lot of work and once you're in your 30s, you're tired.
Yeah.
You're too tired for this. But even so, when Buffy wakes up, this is all very reminiscent of when she wakes up after having sex with Angel. The sheets are the same color. She's in bed alone. Only this time it's a dorm room that he has by himself, and there's like a bicycle there. We do see Angel ride a bicycle later, but we haven't at this point. So it, yeah, we do this season.
Oh, okay.
We get to see Angel ride a bike this season. It's one of my favorite episodes. Not because Angel rides a bike, but it happens in that episode. But Parker comes in, like Buffy's trying to just find her clothes. And Parker comes in, he has coffee. And even now, like he's still making it seem like he's still interested in her and like that he wants to hang out later, but his mom's coming in, so other than that they can totally hang out after that. She's like, oh, okay. And she's like, can I ask you for something? He's like, oh, a kiss. And she's like, no, my pants, I need pants.
And so like I think one of the parts that bothers me so much is that apparently they had spent every single day together in the previous week. Like every single day, he is reaching out to her, he is following her, he's talking to her, they're spending time together. Then immediately he ghosts her.
Yep.
And she's like, what happened? Like, And yeah, ugh, I kind of mentioned this earlier to you. I had so much like anxiety about this episode just because of the icky way that Parker makes Buffy feel.
Yeah.
Like, where she's like, I was in the wrong, I misunderstood, and it's not her, it's him.
And thankfully she had, like, we see this a little bit later, she has Willow to who has the emotional maturity and to just be like, no, because not everyone in that situation has someone being like, you weren't in the wrong, he's the poop head, like, you need that friend. I mean, Willow also does the other thing that we need in a good friend, who will tell you when you're being the poop head. But yeah, like, because Willow is in a good relationship and she knows the difference. Like, Buffy didn't do anything wrong here. She was lied to repeatedly. And so while Buffy was spending the night with Parker, Giles had been trying to get a hold of her, and was calling her dorm, which also means Willow was out.
Yep.
But so was leaving her messages. So when Buffy gets back into her dorm, Giles is just sitting at Willow's desk.
Yep.
Like, and I love this exchange where Buffy is like, I'm an adult and it's none of your business where I was. And Giles just says, like, good. Like, he doesn't want to know. Like, he has assessed the situation. He has a good idea. He doesn't want those details.
Yep.
Like, good, you're alive. I don't want to know anything else. Unless it's demon related.
Mm-hmm. And so he is going to look for signs of, I guess they're saying, tunneling, or, figuring out where the Gem of Mara is. She's going to go looking for Spike. Giles leaves, and Willow's like, it happened, like, yay, like, this is exciting. And she's being so supportive of her friend, not for, there's no slut shaming going on. There's no, do you think you're moving too fast? This is fun, this is exciting, this is new, like, I'm excited for you, I'm happy for you.
And the details, but she wants a blurry watercolor. She doesn't want like a perfect picture, just a blurry watercolor. Yep. Which I love. That is exactly what I want when I ask for like stories like that. I want a blurry watercolor paint. You probably want a detailed
diagrams, figures, labels.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But yeah, so exactly, like, Buffy's had two really good interactions, although not an interaction she would have wanted to have with Giles, but two positive ones with both Giles and Willow. Because I also think that Giles did the right thing in being like, you're absolutely right, I don't want to know, can we talk about what I'm here for? Which is what Buffy wants too. She's just like, oh, thank God.
And so then we get little montage. And it's the montage of, like, Spike tunneling and Giles researching and Buffy listening to like empty messages and not hearing anything.
Yeah. And this is like all within the course of a day, it looks like. Like at nighttime, because she's checking again by payphone her voice messages, which is Willow leaving a voice message on their answering machine. But Spike has also made a rule that no one is allowed to leave the lair, because Buffy's not actually looking for Spike, she's looking for Harmony, because she's going to be the easier one to find. And okay.
Yeah, so Spike, basically says, you're an indoor kitten. And she's like, you said you were going to take me to France. And you see all of the vampires like roll their eyes. And Spike like yells at her, and he's like, I want to hear sodding all about France until I get this ring. Like, like focus on the thing at hand, stop complaining about random shit. And
Yeah.
I don't feel like Spike's in the wrong here. Like,
I mean, both of them are in the wrong, I think. Like, I would be annoyed too, but how he handles everything is the problem. Like, Harmony also should have just, at this point, later on, I grow to love her, but at this point, you're just like, why would someone turn her? Why?
Yeah.
Did that person hate themselves?
Yep.
Like, there's no reason like that. Were they like, I'd like to create the most annoying vampire. That'll be their special power. They will annoy their victims to where they take their own lives. And I really would like to know, like, why Spike thought it was a good idea to date Harmony.
I know. Because she's there.
Yeah.
That's it. Because she's there. She's available.
Mm-hmm.
And again, so we've got this kind of like, and then actually we missed a part where like after having sex, Xander and Anya, Anya says, okay, well, I'm over you now. And Xander's like, okay, good. And she's like, good? Like, what? Like, you don't still want me? And she storms off angry, and Xander's confused.
And like, Xander also didn't say like, okay, good. He was like, okay, good. Like, why are we having this conversation?
Yep.
Because also, like, if you just have sex with someone and then the first thing they say to you afterwards, like, I'm over you now.
Yep.
I think the only thing you can say is like, okay, good.
Like, let me know if you get a Josin again.
Right.
Like, happy to provide you with your next fix.
Right. It's like this is one of the most bizarre interactions of my life, and I live in Sunnydale. So Anya, I think, doesn't have the equipment to talk about how she feels.
Yep.
But she's definitely realized that what she thought would happen is not what has happened. Like, having sex with Xander did not get rid of her feelings. They're still there, and she's not happy about it.
Yep.
Which, I mean, who hasn't had that experience? Shut up, Jasmine.
I feel like saying, okay, well, I've had sex with this person and it was good, so now I never want to have sex with them again is not logical.
Yeah.
Like, if you had bad sex with someone, you can be like, yep, nope, that was bad. It's the Wesley Cordelia kiss.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, yep, nope, that did not work. I'm over you. Like, that ruined the experience. But if you have a good experience with someone, you're not going to be like, well, that's done.
Exactly. If for no other reason, then you know where to get a good fix. So now, did you want to talk any more about the not Xander Cordelia? Wow, the Xander Anya.
Nope. We can go back to our little montage and then breaking into the crypt.
Yep. Because Spike does do it. Also, I love that he's still, like, even though like they're vampires, they are still wearing the appropriate protective gear. Safety first.
Well, they're sparks and they're vampires. They could catch on fire.
That's true. That's very true. So when they break through the crypt, Spike hops in there looking for the gem, mistakes it for something else, like a necklace.
I think that's Harmony very smart of the original vampire in the crypt. He has this big flashy necklace and a gem, And everyone thinks that that is the gem that provides him with power, not the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Spike is an idiot for being like, gem of Amara on my finger, because immediately you know what you need to do to defeat that vampire. Like,
Yeah. Also, I have so many questions. One, there are bones. Two, if you, it can't be a vampire that is buried there, because if it were, and he had the gem of Amara, and it was like, he would have had to make the conscious decision to die. Like, I'm tired of this. Take this off. I'm just gonna go die now. I mean, we have seen it where like the master was so old, so there is that possibility of the bones being left behind. But if you have the gem of Amara,
again, like there must reach a point where you're like, been there, done that. I'm just gonna rest now. Like, let me take off my ring and lie in this coffin and disintegrate into dust.
mm-hmm. I mean, Dracula doesn't get to that point, but but this guy might have been older than Dracula.
The 10th century, so he is at least 900 years old. Like,
And I mean, that's when they were looking for it. So I imagine he's much older than that. But, so Harmony comes up right after Spike and is like, "Ooh, can I pick out some stuff?" And he's like, "I don't care. Go ahead." So she's prattling on, and like trying stuff on, having a good time, which that part is understandable. Like, there's no reason for Spike to be grumpy right now. Although I do enjoy that, like, when he thinks he's wearing the gem of Amara, she's like, I thought you'd look different. Maybe glow or be taller. And then she mentions France, and Spike has had enough and tries to stake her, but she's wearing the gem. And we just see it go, whoop, close right up. And at this point, like, now Harmony, she's done. Like, he has tried to stake her. And he's holding, like, my favorite is when he picks up the cross, the ornate cross, and holds it to her head. And she's like, "What are you doing, you freak?" Because she has not picked up on the fact that she clearly has the gem.
Well, yeah. And so, again, Harmony with the France thing, she's like, maybe we could sell and we could go to France. And I've always wanted to go to France. Like, just the way she said it, it's very obvious that he's like, I'm going to stake you now. Like, I'm going to stake you. I cannot handle this anymore.
I mean, he also warned her that if she ever mentioned France again, he would kill her.
Yep.
Spike, many problems with him, but he is a vampire of his word. So she throws him out. He like, get out of here. And he's like, glad to, because now he has the gem, and he prances off. Because he's gonna go look for Buffy.
So then we're back at Giles's place, and Oz is like looking through Giles's records, and he's like, "You either have to lend me these, or I'm moving in with you." And Giles says, like, this is more important than records. And Oz is like, "Even this one?" and Giles is like, yeah, okay. An argument could be made that record is more important than.
And then, go ahead.
And then Xander sees a TV.
Yep, he sees the TV, and everyone's like, guys, Giles has a TV. He's a degenerate like us. And Giles is even embarrassed that they found the TV. Yep. But like, Buffy would have known it was there, because I'm pretty sure the night that a band candy, you can see the TV. So Buffy at least would have known. Also, I don't
right now.
Huh?
Buffy's not there right now.
Oh yeah, that's true. So everyone is also like Willow's like, maybe it's not a real TV, maybe it's, and then it turns on. She's like, oh, like she is so disappointed. Like her idol was just knocked down in front of her, and like
Out that it's on the news. It is, public television is on the news. He's telling them to turn it off. They're not going to find their answers on the television, except then, of course, they find their answers on the television.
Yep, because there's been cave-ins. And the news person said, like, and, the city swears there's been no tunneling near. And as soon as I said tunneling, they're all like, but Xander doesn't want to leave the TV. Like, he's doing the kind of a little kid thing where he has his knees tucked up and he's holding them, like watching the TV. And he's like, oh, we have to go to Aunt Irma's house now. Okay. That's basically the scene that he does. But yeah, so I mean, we've learned a lot so far this episode. Harmony and Spike are together. Anya has a major thing for Xander. Parker's a dick, and Giles has the TV.
Yep.
And the Ring of Amara, But I mean, out of all these things, the fact that Giles has a TV is clearly the most important.
And so people break off. Xander's supposed to find Buffy and let her know. They're going to go look, they being Oz, Giles, and Willow are going to look for the tunnel. As Xander's looking for Buffy, he runs into Anya, and Anya tries to talk to him again, which is a perfectly understandable situation.
Yes.
And he blows her off because there is an emergency with Buffy. And he says, I don't have time for this. And she's hurt, but he didn't handle it well. He could have taken 5 seconds to say, there's an emergency. I need to go handle it. Come find me tonight.
Well, I mean, you can make the argument that with what winds up happening, maybe he couldn't have. Buffy might have wound up dead in that time, in those 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's the world that Xander's used to. You don't have time to spare when there's a situation going down like this. And for Xander, I'm sure he was just told that this woman was over him. So he has no idea why she's bothering him again, basically. And he's probably like, this is some weird demon nonsense. That's not this demon nonsense that I need to take care of. If you feel so bad for Anya because she's just learning how to person.
Yep.
She's just learning, and her feelings are hurt, and this is a new feeling for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly don't think that Xander has any clue at all, because Anya is so upfront about everything that he just takes her at her word.
Yep.
Initially. But so while Xander's trying to find Buffy is, has run into Parker. She's walking around the campus sad, and then she sees Parker having this conversation with this other girl using the same lines about his dead dad. So she walks over to him, and Parker introduces him to this other, girl that he's talking to, and she's just like, oh, hi. And walks away, and Buffy's like, can I talk to you? I thought we were going to hang out. Da, da, da. And oh my God, this scene is brutal. It is brutal. This really seals what a dick he is, because everything he does, it's to make himself seem squeaky clean. And she just misunderstood everything.
Yep.
But this was a carefully laid plot for her to misunderstand everything.
Yep. So we see it at the crypt, Giles and Willow and Oz know now. They see Harmony, who says that being a vampire sucks, and says that yes, Spike has the ring. And specifically says that it's a ring, took it off her finger, sort of thing.
And she says, I would have just given it to him. I would have given him anything. But that thought doesn't even cross Spike's mind. He just rips it off of her.
Yep.
And then, she runs away and down into the hole. Yep. There's a conversation, like, when Buffy and Parker are talking, she says to him, like, did I do something wrong? And he said, it was fun. Didn't you have fun? And this is almost the exact conversation she has with Evil Angel.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, it was fun. I thought you were a real pro. Like, just, there's so many comparisons to these two. Like, oh my God, like, Joss Whedon, just kick her down the steps. You're about to do that anyway. Like, so rough. Arf. Like, it's oh, like, you feel it in your soul.
I know. And so, Buffy says, apologizing, I didn't mean to misunderstand, like, and he's kind of thinking, oh yeah, I'll call you. And it's so obvious he's not going to call her. Yeah, I'll call you, and then she turns around and Spike hits her in the sunlight. Yep. She stakes him. It doesn't work. He's like making like sexual comments to her.
During this whole, like, they're in the it's middle of the day. It's the Sunnydale campus. There's no students. No one's seeing this. No one's there. There's no one in classes looking out. They're not being quiet. Like, no wonder there's so many murders. Like, what is going on? Where are the students? Like, they were
clearing out because they're like, shit's going down. Peace.
Someone call public safety. Like, this is not good. Like, no one is, like, you don't even hear someone go, oh, like, there's nothing. There's no people. And like, Spike is laying into Buffy, making the sexual comments, and he does, of course, go right into the angel stuff. Like, he sees that comparison too, and dang it, if he's not going to make Buffy know that he sees it.
He specifically says, you let Parker take a poke. Ew. Mm-hmm. Then says, you must not have been worth a second go. Who else said that? Angel. And immediately Buffy is so pissed off, and you don't piss off a Slayer, that she just starts kicking his ass. Mm-hmm. Xander has a moment of like, Buffy, and then gets smacked into a, like a generator or something.
Yeah, because so it was before he made the angel comment, because Buffy was in like a dire situation. Like, she was not prepared for this. At no point is anyone really prepared for a vampire to be out in the daylight kicking their ass. But especially after having that emotional ass kicking. Mm-hmm. So Xander, he just tries to like tackle Spike, and it does not go well. But I mean, it's not a bad idea, honestly. Having the ring on him, tackling him, and ripping it off is what you'd try to do. Yep. He doesn't have the strength of a supernatural linebacker, so he can't. Yep. But that distraction probably, you can argue, saves Buffy's bones, at least, from being broken, but might also save her life.
Yep.
And then Spike's mouth really saves Buffy's life. He just can't stop himself. Like, he just can't. He's old enough. He should know better.
And, Buffy grabs him and like has the ring, and he says, if you take it off of me, we'll both burn. She's like, okay, sure, let's find out. So he immediately starts catching fire, and he jumps into the sewers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which, I mean, quick thinking of a lie on his part. However, it's not a believable one.
Yep.
I mean, I guess Buffy could have caught on fire if she hung on to him long enough and her sweater caught.
Yeah.
That's about it. So Buffy now has this ring. They all convene back, like the Scoobies all convene back at Giles's. And Buffy wants the ring to go to Angel, but she doesn't flat out say it that way. And Xander's just sitting there. He's like, what's going on? Huh? And Willow's like, Buffy's going to give the ring to Angel. Don't make a big deal out of it. And like Xander like just reacts like, oh, like he like curls up on himself like a dog, kind of like, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Like there's no crappy line out of him or anything like that. And I also love the dynamic between Willow and Xander where she's explaining it to him like a child.
Yep.
Make a big deal out of it. And Oz, of course, is going to be going to LA and can give the ring to Angel.
And I do appreciate they've been talking about this gig since the beginning of the episode.
Yes.
We're going to LA for this gig. We're going to LA for this gig. So the fact that Oz is like, hey, I've got that gig in LA.
Yeah, it works.
Yep.
Because it would just be too painful for Buffy, and it's not something you can pop in the mail. Can you imagine the ring just winds up sitting in like the lost section of like the LA mail office, sitting there for decades?
I was thinking about the amulet in the final season of Angel.
Oh, yeah.
Showing up in the mail with a ghost spike.
Yep.
So then Buffy and Willow are talking about Parker. And Buffy's like, does every guy I sleep with end up evil? And Willow's like, no, this is not going to be the norm. Like, you made a mistake with Parker in that you trusted Parker. Like, Buffy did not make a mistake by having sex. Like, if she had wanted a random hookup, that would have been fine. The mistake was not really on her end. She was deceived. And
yep. Yeah, Buffy didn't do anything wrong. And Willow, says that over and over again to her, like a good friend should. And so Buffy winds up like saying that she wants to walk by herself, and we have like the three women who have had sex during this episode, that like Buffy, Anya, and Harmony, all walking by themselves at night, all sad for very different reasons and like levels of crap. Like Harmony's is clearly the worst since Spike tried to kill her. Buffy's is in the middle, I would say, and then would be Anya. And a part of that is also like I can say that knowing where Anya and Xander wind up, because theirs was a miscommunication. That was an honest miscommunication. Like you can see the levels there, and that's resolvable. The other two should not try to be resolved.
Yes. Well, and it's also different levels of like manipulation.
Oh yeah.
There's no manipulation, just miscommunication. Mm-hmm. There is like two-sided abusive relationship between Harmony and Spike, where he's upfront about, not caring about her, and she's still letting herself be used in hopes that he will care about her. And then the deception of Parker, who, flat out pretends something that he has no intention of following through on.
Yep. Yeah, and that's how the episode ends. They're just wandering. Like, this is not a happy... There's a happy ending in that, this ring's being sent off to Angel and they stop the big bad. But that doesn't mean that, the players are not emotionally wounded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I do love this episode because of, like... what it leads into, because I love the Spike and Angel stuff in the next episode.
Well, I have to say, this episode was written by Jane Espenson, and she also wrote Band Candy and Gingerbread and Earshot, and like she writes some hilarious but also like deeply emotional episodes.
Yeah, things that like echo through to, I mean, you can make the argument that once you're out of like the first season, most of the stuff will take an actually, like we haven't had a monster of the week in forever. And it'll just take an echo through the many seasons of Buffy and into Angel in some cases.
Yep. All right. So next week we are back in the City of Angels, LA, and we'll be coming with Oz.
Yeah, and another friend is on his tail.
Yep.
Thank you as always for just Jossin with us.
Yes. We will see you next time.